January the 10th, 2014. Guys, these are Earth-facing images from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Got a giant sunspot, and we got two filaments here that are starting to compress. The one in the top left will not be there much longer. As soon as it touches one of these hot spots, it's going to release. The center already has. The long one I'll show you in a different camera, but this giant sunspot is still triple configurated. It's capable of X flares. We're going to have to watch it, and that's 44 and 1948 above it. Here's your filaments. Notice in the deep blue and purple, that's coronal holes. That's pure heat pushing from the sun. That's maybe when we're having this warm break in our weather. But this long filament there starting to compress. Notice that center line, how tight it's getting. Maybe it will move on around, but that one would be Earth facing if it releases from the top because it's a whip-like motion. Here's our colored magnetogram. The sunspot is actually, that area has still grown into the 1500s, guys. But again, it's moving off to the right. It would not be directly Earth facing, but you've seen on the flare tracker how these things expand out and wrap around. We're not out of the woods on that one yet. And it's been building up, and every 36 to 48 hours, we've seen a release. Maybe that big X flare that will give it a little more time as far as it's released a lot of energy. It'll take it more time to build up. Now they're starting to call our debris trail the Isonids. Remember, we named it that about 6 weeks ago. But guys, it's going to be coming from the constellation of Leo, the line. Notice right there, that's Regulus Alpha Leonis. That's the chest area between the two legs of Leo in that constellation. It's called the radiant area. It says there have been several articles published about the possibility of meteor activity from ISON. During the inbound portion of the comet's orbit, the comet passed approximately 2 million miles from the Earth's orbit. It came right above us. The Earth arrived at this point on January 15th. That's coming up. Now, that's the center point of the line. We've got 7 days that we're going to go through this approximately. It was a 250,000 kilometer wide dust trail. Now, it has widened out. They normally do that. When we go through a meteor shower, we go through a different section each year. Now, it's saying that it's going to, while the probability of meteor activity is remote, it is not 100% out of the question. They don't know, is what that means. It says calculated radiant would be lying at Leo. Any strikes in the atmosphere would be at about 51 kilometers a second, which is a medium fast meteor with an average duration of less than 1 second. We'll see. We've seen some fireballs come in. They're talking about the dust trail being, and it's only going to be, they're saying, in a few microns. Now, guys, that X flare did damage. What it did was exactly what we talked about. It got the weak points. It got in the Sumatran Trench, down around New Zealand. Remember, we're talking about that in Fiji. Now, this is a couple of what was unusual that weren't in the normal areas, showing you the strength. Now, this one in Cuba is highly unusual. That was felt from the Keys to Orlando, according to the reports on this quake, guys. So on today's show, we got some friends in Florida. If you felt it, give me a call. But that quake, you notice it came around, just like we said, Sumatra, weak points. We got the one in Japan also. We also had one in the Aleutian Island area. But this Cuba quake is unusual. Now, I said the Cayman Trench, which is this deep blue area with the red line just below that. I was watching that area. But now Cuba is separated from the Yucatan in that area because of the tectonic plates. Cuba is part of the North American plate, part of this craton, okay? So what we may have had was a give or a dip in that Cayman Trench just below this quake, which was just off in these islands offshore, and that let pressure push down from the North American craton. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, that craton runs along the edge of the Madrid Fault, and then it spreads west and east, goes up through the Appalachians. That's one big hard rock. That was what was out of the water millions of years ago. The desert Southwest in the United States, was not. It was shallow seas. Now, you're seeing these weak points. This is what I was talking about. See this crack? These are fuses. These are God's fuses of the earth that will give before a big crack. And you can see they're very identical, long circles of activity because the plates are pushing together. They have to move in that circle and as they collide. And you can see these slip. You see how that red line moves and then slips. Those are signs of great quakes. But again, these are the pressure point release areas we talked about. But they were weakened. Are you listening? They were weakened. Everything's in God's clock here. So we'll watch it. We're going to have to watch the solar activity. Guys, we're on the block talk. Michael from around the world was with us yesterday, and he's gonna call us back today. We're gonna finish that conversation. Don't miss this show, guys. You're not gonna get that information anywhere else. If you do, tell me because I want to listen to it. Also, Anthony Patch is going to be joining us next week on Tuesday the 14th. On the 15th, Wednesday, Stephen Danoon will be with us. And I've got videos on bpearthwatch.com of both guys, Stephen Danoon's YouTube videos. I've got some of Anthony Patch's there. But guys, do not miss the show today or through next week. It's going to be loaded up with end-time information from the religious world, from the scientific world. And just like Einstein said, there is no science without God. Heads up.